Welcome, everyone, to episode 60 of the RDH Sports Podcast. I'm your host. Joined alongside me is my brother Tanner. How's it hanging, dude? That's one way to start it off. Well, we're going to talk about rookies later on in the episode. But today we got, if you're watching us on YouTube, you can see everything we're going to talk about on the side panel. If you're not, for all the folks that are listening, we got a little bit of Dallas Cowboys chit chat. Always NFL surprises. Always week 3 matchup predictions. This week's upcoming. We always do matchup predictions for all those bettors out there. And then a little bit of college football to end it off because we've got a ton of stories in college football already. But are you ready to dive into this football chat, Tanner?
Yeah, dude. And I just want to say I was muted before, but it was we're back, and I'm ready. Let's get ready to dive into it.
There we go. Tough scene, but technical difficulties are out of the way, and we're rocking and we're rolling. Really started off, because the folks technically haven't heard you yet. Dallas Cowboys. We're not going to go into the whole game, but just kind of give me your thoughts. It was a pretty badass whooping.
Yeah, it was brutal, man. There's, not without getting too much into the weeds, it was pretty much not good on every single side of the ball. If you are a Cowboys fan, if you're a Saints fan, it was beautiful. It's the best victory, you've seen in a while. So the Cowboys just didn't really match up. I don't think that well on defense. I didn't think that, they were, doing really much of anything. Obviously it's a lot to sit here and say that, but like what happened? They put up like 44. It seemed like almost every time the Saints were going down and scoring, and give some credit to Derek Carr. Like he's doing this, through 2 weeks, and it's really impressive because he's looking very good. It's seemingly like he's not missed a step. I know a lot of people, and I was one of the people who was saying that I think he was going to take a step back when he goes into New Orleans because like the weapons there, what is it going to do? And that was this past season when it was his first season in there. But a season in the system. I think this is his second year there, and he looks really good. He looks very comfortable. It looks like he's got a lot of confidence. It looks like he's just unloading the ball in almost every situation. And Rashid Shaheed has come on as a great receiver. Chris Olave, like they're starting to make a lot of noise in the NFC, a team that you really didn't expect to be here. This early on, you thought it'd take a little bit more time, but they're coming out the gate running, and it's a weird start to this NFL season, and these guys are seeming like very, very good team to start it off. We'll see if they can continue this momentum. Historically, it's not always gone that way with Derek Carr, but I want to see if they can continue to produce it, and I really like this system that they've got going on.
Definitely. The New Orleans Saints, you got to give credit to them. They were the better team on every aspect of the ball, whether it be special teams, offense, or defense. Like they hit on every level, and Derek Carr and Alvin Kamara, everybody who thought Alvin Kamara was going to slow down, that's not happening.
Nope.
He's continuing to go at an even higher pace at this point, which is crazy. He had 4 touchdowns that game, and that's absurd. You know what I mean? That's absolutely absurd to have multiple. That many touchdowns, receiving and rushing. You couldn't do anything. Week 1 it was Dallas's defense is the best in the NFL. Week 2 it was we missed that one. You know what I mean? But the hard part about it is if you're a Dallas fan is just you drop these random games, and unfortunately every season it happens. You kind of wait for it. You kind of wait for that game that you're like out of nowhere. You're like, wait, we lost to who? And so, no disrespect to the Saints, but I thought that this week was going to be the Saints getting right week, and I thought that Dallas was going to do a little bit better, and they got absolutely rocked. It wasn't even close. To say that though, Dak, you pay him $60 million, and then that's what happens. That's the product you get. Unfortunately, there's ups and downs in the NFL, and you really don't want that to happen in week 2, especially when you're playing a Baltimore Ravens team, which we will hit in the matchup section. But Dallas right now is 1-1. I think it's a strong possibility they go 1-2. And you look at the roster, and a lot of these guys are rookies. And the ones that aren't rookies are making, starting at random positions or coming off of injuries. And then you've got, some key players that are injured. Unfortunately, the defensive end that was really going to be the big guy out of Ole Miss on the left side was really going to be the guy this year. But that didn't happen because unfortunately went down to injury. But anyway, that was a game that you hope is a throwaway game, and you hope that that's a throwaway game and not your floor, because if that's your floor, that's pretty bad, and you're going to lose to a lot of teams in the NFL. Maybe not Carolina, but then you go out there and you see the Eagles, and they got beat by the Falcons, given they could have won the game if Saquon caught the ball. But that whole division right now is on fire, aside from Carolina. Last thing I'll say is the defense got destroyed. You know what I mean? There's nothing like, I get it. Dallas didn't put up that many points, and you should have put up more points with that offense. But when you don't have a threat of a run, and I mean, to be fair, the run actually wasn't getting shut down that bad either, which is the hard part about that game. Like the run wasn't necessarily unsuccessful, but when you're down by 25 points or 20 points, you can't run the ball anymore. That's out of the window.
Exactly.
We saw that. We see that with Baltimore all the time. Lamar Jackson has to start passing the ball. Last thing I'll say, though, is you just hope that Dallas's defense kind of steps it up, right? And you hope the offense does the same all around. It was a horrendous game. And, I'm not hitting the panic button yet, mainly because, you got an Eagles team that this division seems pretty close in terms of skill. You have the Giants that are there at the bottom. You had Washington, and then you have the Eagles and Dallas right there that are fighting it out for number 1 and number 2, in my opinion. So that's all I got on Dallas Cowboys this week. Hopefully it's a little bit more of a fun talk next week. Do you have anything else on the Cowboys, Tanner, or are we moving on to surprises?
No, I mean, I think it's a big statement game, like you said, but at the same time, too, did you not see this the last time you were at AT&T Stadium? You know what I mean? In the playoffs from last season, this is now 2 straight games, I think, that they've given up over 40 points, and I don't remember what the final score of that playoff game was, but it was something like 40, mid-40s.
Oh, they're talking about week one. I was like, no, sir.
No, I mean, it just home game specifically for Dallas, and that's
you're not wrong, man.
That's
on
not
a home opener. They pull that.
That's those are probably 2 of the I say premier games, on your schedule. Obviously, the playoffs is a very premier game. And then the home opener, that's a game you're going to come out there and you should kind of put, the beat down on, kind of set the tone for the season. And they didn't do that at all. And I think that's just kind of the home advantage of the Cowboys is starting to slip away a little bit. Just a little trend that I noticed too, and saw a little bit on social media. I was like, oh yeah, that's definitely true. So not a good look. And we'll see what happens going on through the season, but they got to get better at home, absolutely.
Yeah, they got to get better at home. And, if I don't know if necessarily that division is that rocking, but we're going to see right now. We're going to see. But another thing, we're going to go to the NFL surprises of the week. We're going to hit, Dallas Cowboys a little bit later too, and the matchup predictions like we always do. But NFL surprises, I think the big one that I got to talk about is, the fact that the 49ers did fall to the Vikings. A couple questions I got for you. First one is, this is a tough question because I could bring this like 4 ways. I know you didn't think this was going to happen with Sam Darnold, so I'm not going to ask you if you thought that Sam Darnold was going to be this good. I'm going to kind of go a little bit deeper into it. How long do you think Sam Darnold can keep this up? Because right now, you're looking at 2 quarterbacks that left the Panthers with Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield and have absolutely flourished. Because a lot of people aren't talking about that Baker went to Carolina there for a little bit. What do you think? How long can Sam Darnold keep this up? Because, like you said, first couple weeks in this NFL season is a whole ton of surprises. So,
in terms of actually getting wins, I think. I think it stops this week because they do play Houston, and I think Houston does have that one. Houston hasn't looked invincible this season, but I think they're just gonna continuously get better and better and better throughout the season. So I think this one does go to Houston, but I think it's kind of a get better game for Houston. And with Minnesota, it's pretty much to your question, like you're just waiting for them to fall off. And that's just, we saw it with the first Sam Darnold revenge tour when he was back in Carolina. They played Dallas, and then he was mortal again, right? After that game. And I think that was like week 3 or 4. So I think the same thing's going to happen. I think it's just going to be a, welcome back to the NFL moment kind of with Sam Darnold. But he's got weapons. You know what I mean? I like Minnesota's offense. Justin Jefferson, obviously, like absolutely amazing. It's their defense is all right. It's nothing to go crazy about, but I don't think it's gonna last for past this week. If they beat the Texans, then maybe we got a conversation going here. But that's probably their first, I guess, second big test alongside the Niners.
So, that leads me into my next question. The 49ers do lose to the Vikings, and myself, and I think you included, thought that the Niners were the best team in the NFC coming into this season. Uh, we said it that, the AFC is way better than, or I said it at least, I don't know if you did. The AFC is better than the NFC, in my opinion, coming into this season. And then you look at the teams on top of the AFC that are 0-2, and you're shocked. We're going to talk about them in a sec. But I got to ask you the big glaring question that I need to ask after week 2. Is the NFC a lot closer than we thought with all of the losses that have happened in week 1 and 2?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the Lions losing, like you were saying, and the Niners losing, the Cowboys losing, like all these teams, like yes, 100%. And the fact that Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, and Derek Carr are like the best quarterbacks we have this season so far, the most consistent ones, I think should say volumes about the NFL, how hard it is to win in the NFL. These guys are, at least 2 out of the 3 of these guys are coming back, into systems that they know, systems that they've had a whole offseason with. So it's, you can say that about other teams as well, but I don't know. It's just, they kind of got this little underdog mentality going, and I think that they got good rosters, man. They really don't. Specifically with Baker, I think that that's just a fun one to, it's like he can knock off any team. You know what I mean? I feel like on any given Sunday, and I think he has that talent. It's just which Baker shows up on the day. And week 1 it was like 4 touchdowns Baker. Week 2 it's not quite as flashy, but he gets the win. He does what he needs to do. So it's very impressive. I think it is a lot closer. I think the NFC South is going to be a very close division, and the Saints with the dark horse coming in there, which is just pretty awesome in my opinion. So yeah, I think we could see potentially one of these teams sneak into a wild card spot, and maybe even 2 of them. In the maybe it's hard to say with Minnesota. It really really is, but I think 100% with the Saints and the Buccaneers. And the Buccaneers have a good shot at winning that division. And if the Saints do what they're doing right now against, in division opponents, then yeah, they have 100% chance. But I think you're getting at least 2 teams out of that division, and maybe even 3 in the NFC South. So that would be kind of fun.
That'd be insane if the Falcons squeaked their way in there. I'm not sure. Oh, that was a massive thunder. Not sure if you heard that. Welcome to Florida, folks.
I think the gods agree with us, Chad.
Yeah, exactly. The football gods are on our side tonight. In fact, I didn't lose power. We're still rolling.
Hey.
No, I mean, I'm right there with you. That division just comes out of nowhere. I thought it was going to be, if I'm not mistaken, I thought that division was going to be separated by a couple games, so it looks like I could still be right there.
Mm-hmm.
But the hard part about that division is you didn't necessarily think they were going to go 9-8. That's kind of what I thought going into the season, and it's looking like that's not going to be the case. They're coming hot out of the gate, but how long can they keep that going? Talking about Tampa, that leads me right into my next question. They take down the Lions, which is another game that nobody thought of was going to happen. Is Baker the most likable guy in the NFL right now? I think he's right. Shake and bake.
Yeah, I mean, he's got that story. Everyone likes a good story with the NFL, and Baker has pretty much been in a lot of places. We saw him obviously in Cleveland where he started his career, and he pretty much turned that program around. He turned that franchise into some program and a franchise that likes to win, that expects to win instead of just expecting to lose every single Sunday, right? So he brought that winning mentality back to the team, I think, and that's why they drafted him. Right, that was the reason why he was picked number 1 overall. Not because he had the best skill set, but because he was the best leader, the best, person who can competitor. Right, he's going to go out there every Sunday and he's going to give it his all, and he's going to make plays, and he's going to be a leader for this team, someone that a team can rally behind. So I think that's a really big reason why these teams do like going out and getting Baker, and why he is kind of like the fan favorite, to your point. So I think that continuously he's been that kind of guy which people almost doubt. You know what I mean? A guy that people count out a lot of the time because
For sure.
Baker Mayfield's not the, like you were saying, like he's a fan favorite, but he's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, these guys that Joe Burrow, these guys that go up and put, you expect to go out and win Super Bowls in the near future. So it's like, where does Baker sit? How does he sit on the totem pole? Well, he's in a lot of people's eyes, yeah, he's a lot lower, but I think that gives him that chip on his shoulder. I think that's what helps him go out there and compete every Sunday, and what helps him, especially after he was let go from Cleveland after an injury-ridden season, and he goes over to Carolina, doesn't play as well as people thought he would, goes over to the Rams, has a game-winning drive that seemingly turned his career around, right? And now he's with Tampa Bay, and he's absolutely balling, and I mean, just look at him. Just go watch a game. He's playing very well. He's playing Baker Mayfield football. So I think that he had a press conference too where he talked about Bryce Young and his recent benching, and he's got a lot of football left. Is basically what he was saying, and that's just, I think, a testament to his journey and how he's gone through the NFL almost like the underdog in every single situation, and it seems like he keeps coming out on top. So I like Baker a lot. Shake and bake. He was, I was rooting for him. Obviously, I'm a little bit of a Cleveland homer at the end of the day, but he's that guy. He's maybe not the flashiest guy in terms of stats, but he put up 4 touchdowns if he wants to.
Pretty sure he went to Lake Travis too, if I'm not mistaken. So
I think he was Texas
the high school's not too far from where you're at and where I watched a whole lot of high school football.
Okay.
All right, next question I got about Tampa. I mean, they beat the Lions. Are they a top team in the NFC? Is kind of where I'm going here. The thing with Tampa for me, and then I want to hear you, is that it's kind of I would say it's in the same vein as the Saints, but not as much. And I mean that by the Saints, I do think could potentially drop off and legitimately start losing games. Mm-hmm. It's crazy to say after a team that's rocked 40 plus points, but it's just it happens every season. Somebody comes out the gate really hot, and then the rest of the season turns around. Classic example, Arizona, because some years ago. I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen to the Saints, because if Derek Carr keeps doing like this, I mean, there's nothing that's going to stop him. He's going to break every record. But we'll see there. But Tampa Bay, are they a top team in the NFC? You know what I mean? They have the defense, so that's check. And you can't say they don't have the offense, because they've got arguably some of the best wide receiver duo in the league. Mm-hmm. And then you have a solid running back with some key pieces on the offensive line. I mean, this is a team that, like you said, I think they could win this division. I think I picked them to win the division this year. But this is a team, to me, that is now a top team in the NFC, even though it's only week 2. I mean, the 49ers lose this past week, the Lions lose this past week, and Tampa takes them down. So I'm going to say yes. I think this is a top team in the NFC right now. Not the top, but a top team in the NFC right now.
Yeah,
what about you?
I think so. I think 100% you can't count them out of that category, because, how long ago were we talking about, Tampa Bay with Tom Brady and being like, oh, this is a Super Bowl favorite. You know what I mean? And they were just, they would go into the playoffs and just win games, and they won a Super Bowl. And it's like, okay, well, that makes sense. The roster's absolutely stacked. So why does, adding Baker in there instead of Tom Brady, obviously a very big difference, but Baker is giving them a chance to win, and he is winning games. So why can't they be a top team? Right? It's a lot of the same talent level that Tom did have. So I think 100%. Where they stop becoming a top team, I don't know, but I mean, they beat the Lions, and they're looking really good. I think they'll probably win that division, and that means a top 4 seed. So they will have a chance to play some playoff games, and even if they're not winning that division, I think they're getting pretty close. And so, once again, to what I was saying earlier, they might even sneak into the wild card too. So I think so. I think you can't count them out at all, really, because they just, again, Baker just has that mentality. He's going to go out there, he's going to win games, and give his team a good chance to do so. So yeah, I think they're a top team in the NFC. And especially with a wishy-washy NFC that we have right now, kind of determining who's still in it, who are those guys, right? Especially with all the injuries that we've seen on multiple different teams. And that could play a big factor going in, especially towards the mid to end of the season.
Absolutely. Like we were talking about rookies earlier. I gotta say this. It's already Thursday, but I can't believe Jaden Daniels gets his first NFL win and there's no touchdowns in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it's against the Giants. Like
Typical.
that's just so typical. I looked at his stat line this past weekend and I thought to myself, I'm like, damn, that's really good, because all I saw was like 12 of 12 or something like that. And I look at it's for 50 something yards. It's like all these passes are less than 5 yards, so it's like little screens, little outs, which you see a lot, with rookie quarterbacks. But right now, the rookie quarterbacks are not, the ones that are playing are not looking too good. And it shows you how rare a CJ Stroud is, how rare a Joe Burrow is, how rare some of these quarterbacks are that, come in and start immediately having success in their first year, which is insane, because then there's a thing known as the sophomore slump. Like that's how hard it is to play the quarterback position, especially in the NFL. I mean, I couldn't even imagine. But next point is, we kind of hit earlier, and you're really the AFC guy because you're the big Cleveland. I mean, Baltimore and the Bengals 0-2 both squads. They both start 0-2. If you go 0-4, it gets to historic lows to make the playoffs. I don't think these teams are necessarily going to go 0-4, but what have you been seeing in Baltimore and Cincy that's making them just drop the ball?
Specifically with Baltimore, and it doesn't happen. It's really weird that this is happening, but they're probably, one of the not great pass defenses now, at least through the first two games. I'm not saying it'll continue like this, but teams have been able to pass on this team, and just been able to get, a lot of pressure off of their quarterback. Obviously, they played the Chiefs week 1. That's a tough beat. And they could have won that game potentially if Isaiah Likely has, an inch smaller of a toe, right? But second week, you expect them to beat the Raiders in Minshew Magic, right? You expect them to go and beat Vegas. So that's an upset, and they had a chance to go down and win at the end of the game, but it didn't really work out in their favor. But
tough scene.
It's tough. It is really tough, but I think they'll get right. But again, they play the Cowboys this week, so Cowboys could potentially go out there and make some noise. And if this Ravens team is vulnerable, I mean, Dallas could take that and run with it. So, and we've seen Dak pull off some upsets before, so it's not out of the realm of possibility. But man, with the addition of Derrick Henry, you'd think that this team would be a team that is very feared, and I think they still are. But I just want them to get back to kind of pounding the rock. You got to go out there, you got to pound the rock. You got Derrick Henry for a reason, and he started to get going.
You're talking like 20 plus a game. You're talking like 20 carries.
We're talking like vintage Derrick Henry, kind of just wear down a defense. And, no offense to Dallas, but this is a very, very good opportunity for the Ravens to do that. And Dallas historically, especially in recent memory, does not have a good run defense. It's been okay, but they just got absolutely destroyed by Alvin Kamara. I don't know how much he had. He had 4 touchdowns. I don't even want to look at the overall all-purpose yards, but and you're telling me Derrick Henry can't come in here and do something at least half of that nature? Absolutely. I think they go in there and they just confuse the ever-living, out of Dallas, and just pound the rock, play action off of it. Get some Lamar runs in there too. Obviously, that's his skill set, and just make it hard, make it really, really hard on the Cowboys, and just make them fear Derrick Henry again. I think that's the big thing.
Okay, so you think that you're not necessarily going to say that Baltimore is going to be in trouble?
No, I don't.
You think Baltimore is going to get right?
No, I don't think so. And it's not. I think it's because of the division they're into, and they're a very competitive team. They can win games, and they've been in pretty much every game that they've played. They just haven't come out on the wrong. They have come out on the wrong side of it, right? So I think this is going to be a very similar situation. They're probably going to get a win this week, but it's going to be in the trenches football. But you got Pittsburgh up there, I'm pretty sure, at 2-0, and then Cleveland at 1-1, and then the Cincy's also 0-2, which I haven't talked about, but including Cincy, that it's a slow start to the season. It doesn't really mean much. I think those in-division matchups are going to mean a lot, and Baltimore can absolutely take at least 1 or 2 games off of Cincy and Pittsburgh, if not sweeping one of those two teams. So, and they could probably sweep Cleveland as well, and maybe even the Bengals could too. So that's 2 games back right there for both of those teams. So yeah, I think it's nowhere near the end of the road because of these in division matchups that they do have, and how the Ravens have kind of played well within the division in the recent memory, and same with the Bengals. So it's not over even a little bit, but don't count Pittsburgh out. Maybe count a little bit of Cleveland out, but I wouldn't count Tomlin out. So it's not over, not even close.
Yeah, Tomlin and Justin Fields up 2-0. So now we're moving to week 3 matchup predictions here. So I'll go ahead and start it off. We got Thursday night. We got tonight, the Patriots against the Jets. This one I think is actually kind of a tough decision. I really want to take the Patriots because they've been they've been going. They should have won last week. They should have won last week, but they didn't. No, I'm going to take the Jets. I think that this is going to be a really good opportunity for Aaron Rodgers to kind of get back in the groove. He got a couple touchdowns last week. Get Garrett Wilson involved early. Get Breece Hall going, and this team's going to be off to the races. I don't necessarily think it's going to be. This team's going to be – it's tough, right? Because week 1, this team, they're up and down, but it's so early in the season. You know what I mean? It's so early, so I'm not going to say anything going to become the outcome of the season yet. But all those names on that team, unbelievable. I'm unsure the status of Quinnen Williams, the defensive lineman for the Jets. And if he's out, that's their best weapon on the defensive side, and it's not even close. And the Pats are going to have to run the ball heavy here, because passing on the Jets is going to be real tough, especially with Sauce Gardner back there tonight and Jacoby starting. So I'm going to go Jets, but I do think it's going to be a lot closer than people think. And I actually do think it's a Thursday night game that not only I'm going to tune into, but I'm going to enjoy. And we'll see how I'm feeling next pod about that statement. But Tanner, who do you got? You got the Pats, you got the Jets.
I got the Jets. I just can't pick against Aaron Rodgers in his home opener, since I don't, we've seen basically one game out of him thus far, right, in week 1 with, in his second technical start, overall as a Jet. But, those fans are going to be rocking. That stadium's going to be absolutely electric. And I think the Jets get the dub. And it's hard to say because I think the Patriots do play well against the Jets, just, in the division. It's a division matchup. It's hard to predict because these teams know each other pretty well. But I think the wild card of Aaron Rodgers is going to start to come into effect a little bit here. I don't think he's going to go out there, pass for 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, but I think he will, manage the game and get his team into a position to succeed and let those young running backs and young skill position players just absolutely feast, like you said, with Garrett Wilson. But I think we will get a little bit more Mike Williams involvement, maybe a little Alan Lazard, just because Patriots defense is pretty good. I think it's unsung how good they are with Christian Gonzalez. He's kind of been that corner. He locked down Jamar Chase a little bit when they did play the Patriots. He didn't let him get off that much, but man, they look good. I can't say that the Patriots don't. He had a little bit of a mistake against the Seahawks with DK Metcalf and that wide open touchdown. But I've liked what I've seen from Gonzalez so far. He's been a guy that can travel pretty much anywhere across the field. And I think they're just going to stick him on Garrett Wilson all night. So that's kind of like my matchup to preview is him and Christian Gonzalez. But man, on the other side of the ball, how are you going to say that Sauce Gardner's not going to have a field day? You know what I mean? I don't know if there are many Patriots receivers that are going to have a big impact. So to your point, they're going to pound the rock. But, it's a little bit of a one-dimensional system. Jacoby Brissett is not going to stretch the field, I don't think, all night long, So I think it's just going to be up to Jacoby to continue to manage the game, get his team in good position, and not turn over the ball, not make any hero moves that'll put them in a bad place. But he's played well so far in Patriots land in New England, so I like it. I think to your point again, I think it will be a close match. But I got to take the Jets. They just got too much. They got so many skill positions. It's just so much in their favor. I think A-Rod gets it done, and I think he's. We see a little bit of not Garrett Wilson for the first time. He's got other receivers, but I like Christian Gonzalez. I like that matchup.
Hey, I put that on my fantasy team.
I'm
You know what
sorry.
I mean?
Gonzalez looked really good, man. And I'm not saying that Garrett Wilson isn't like a really good receiver. And if they kind of scheme him into open positions, I think he can get some good stuff going. But
But you're just throwing that shit out there before like an hour before or 2 hours before kickoff. What the hell?
hey,
You know what I
I'm
mean?
just saying I don't have him. He's not on my fantasy team.
I don't know how I feel about that, folks. I think he's angry. I beat him in a couple leagues.
You did win.
Moving on.
I got the big one though. They're over here.
I was about to say he's going to point to his trophies here in a second. Sunday game. This is a game. I picked this one because I'm going to have you start this one. Saints in the Eagles. Do the Saints keep it going? And do the Eagles, I don't know, the Eagles should have won last week. Let's all be real. All Saquon had to do was catch that ball, and that game is quite literally pretty much over. So, Eagles really could be 2-0 right now. Saints are obviously 2-0, but the Eagles can't. I mean, they're just like there's just as much wet paper bag as Dallas is right now in terms of defense. So, what do you got on this one?
I thought Eagles defense would be good. No offense. I just thought that they would be a little bit better than they were last year. It's just not really seeming that way. These young corners, I think they are young corners. And we're seeing that in full force. I think they have moments, their defensive line is obviously stacked, but it's that secondary that I'm worried about. So I think as the season goes on, they're going to get a lot better, but it's going to be a close one. I think Derek Carr, maybe we
think it's close.
I think it's close. I don't think, I think Derek Carr, he's going to go out there, he's going to sling the rock. They're going to get the ball rolling. If Kamara can get going, this is going to get scary for Philly, but I don't necessarily think he's going to get going. So I think Carr is going to be from who?
From the Saints. You think the Saints are going to put up 40 again? 3 games in a row.
I don't think so. It's hard. Okay. I don't think so.
Right.
Just because I think that a lot of that success has come from Alvin Kamara running that thing and pounding the ball down low. So if you're gonna tell me that Derek Carr's got to throw you a win, throw you into this game and throw you out of it for saying, I don't think so. I think that team is just a magical play action team. So, but it's gonna be close.
So it ends now.
I think it ends now, but I don't think the magic is over. I'll say that. I think that this team is a little bit more real than people are giving them credit for, but I think they do. It's just hard to do that in back to back weeks. You know what I mean? So I don't think they get up to 40. If they get up to 40, they probably win, unless this is just the craziest Sunday football. I think it's a 12:00 game, craziest 12:00 game we've ever seen. So, but. No, man. I think the Eagles get right. They just got too many weapons. A.J. Brown, I don't know if he's going to play, but Devontae Smith.
He's questionable.
All right, welcome back. I have one less jacket on, and Chad has one fixed mic. So, here we are. Basically, to sum up what I was saying, I think it can, if Derek Carr goes out there and they start establishing the run and they beat him up front, I think it can happen 100%. But that's going to be the recipe for success. I don't think Derek Carr is going to throw you a victory here. And I think the Eagles are they're a good team, man. They're going to be able to move the ball regardless, I think, if they have A.J. Brown or not. So Devontae Smith is going to get open. And I think the Eagles get the dub. But it will be close. I think maybe a 3 to 6 point game, definitely within a touchdown.
I'm gonna go Saints here. I'm thinking this. I don't. My biggest thing, I don't know if the Saints are necessarily going to put up 40, but I think if you put up 30 plus on the Eagles, I think you win. So I think that the Saints taking a step back in terms of their offensive production puts them down to a new season low of 30 plus points this week. But the Eagles defense has shown me nothing this year, so I'm gonna go with the Saints this week. I think that the Saints are going to win, and I think that division is going to be one of those divisions where, just like you said, maybe the NFC South is the new division where 3 teams get in. But we'll see what happens with the Falcons.
I do want to ask too before you go on. What are you thinking about? And this is kind of like a topic in the media a little bit, not among like Sirianni's in the hot seat, I think for sure. But what about Kellen Moore? Since he does have ties to Dallas, we do know him very well and what he likes to do. He kind of developed here in Dallas. What have you seen with this Philly offense led by Kellen Moore? Is it kind of similar to how Dallas was doing? He's kind of pass heavy, passing when you shouldn't kind of situation, or do you like it moving forward, or do you not like it?
I mean, I watched to be honest, I watched a clip the last weekend of the Jason Kelsey interview with Jalen Hurts, and I don't know how much the statistics on that clip, obviously, but I thought that clip was so important in terms of the Philadelphia Eagles organization because you don't realize how much responsibility is placed on a veteran center. You don't realize it until you listen to an interview like that when now everything is being taken and given to Jalen. Jalen now has the reins. And so what's insane to think is when Jalen had that incredible season and got them to the Super Bowl, Kelsey, I'm not saying Jalen didn't do anything, but Kelsey had everything. Kelsey had the keys to the castle. Now Jalen has the keys to the castle. So moving forward, I think the big question is, it's the same thing with Dallas. Is Jalen going to regress or is he going to continue to progress? And so, Dak has his games, but Jalen right now, I mean, he's flat out missing throws.
Mm-hmm.
Like just flat out missing throws. And so it's just like, I'm not sure what Jalen Hurts this is because he had a bit of a rough game last go around, last week. But once again, he put that ball in Saquon's hand to win the game, and they're 2-0.
Yeah.
So and nobody's really talking about it. But my thing is, I think that it'll be okay until you go against someone that's like Kyle Shanahan. Until you go against somebody that's of that coaching cloth. Someone that I think that you've seen it last year. You saw Mike McCarthy flat out get outcoached, and every coordinator on Dallas get outcoached. And now one of them has a job in Washington and got his first win with no touchdowns. Thanks, Giants. Again, that's just kind of where I'm at the whole situation. Am I comfortable with Jalen as a quarterback going forward? Yeah. When you have AJ Brown, you have Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley. Yeah, I'm okay with that. Whatever. You know what I mean? Throw somebody in there; they'll be just fine with those two guys, with their number one and number two. But in terms of coordinating specifically, I don't know. That locker room and that just watching that game, those players look divided on Sirianni. I'm just going to flat out say it. Watching that game, there was a whole lot of body language that game when you saw Sirianni talking to players. Now, given, thanks to YouTube TV, you can pause it and rewind. And I'm looking at him like, this dude is giving him the eye. And, after that interception toward the end of the game by, I don't know if it was James Bradbury, but it was one of the defensive backs for the Eagles. Sirianni sprints over to the sideline and is yelling at him like pumped up. And you I think it was CJ Gardner-Johnson. It was CJ Gardner-Johnson. And you kind of looked at his face and you were just like, is he happy or is he like, what are you doing over here? You know what I mean? Like it's one of those things where I think it's that organization right now is so divided. But hey, that roster's nasty.
It is.
So I think that the roster itself is going to be just fine. But I think that when it comes to the playoffs, if Philly makes a deep playoff run and they play a good defense, I think it's going to be trouble because you saw what happened. It did just what happened when Dallas started to stall out. Did Dallas ever come back whenever they started to stall out? Usually not.
Mm-mm.
Usually not. So that's kind of how I got the Eagles going forward. You ready for the next matchup?
Yeah.
Ravens versus Cowboys. I got the Ravens. Who you got?
I'm gonna go Cowboys. I know what I was saying earlier, but I don't. I gotta go Cowboys. I just think that again. I know what I've said. With them being at home, but I think that they start to turn around a little bit. This is a team that I think Dallas is. If their offensive line gets going, if they start playing well like they were against Cleveland, I think we could see Dak having a little bit more success than he did last week. And it's hard. Obviously, Baltimore has a lot of playmakers, but it's gonna be a higher scoring game, I think. And I think Baltimore's definitely gonna get in the end zone a couple times, and I think Dak's gonna have one of those games. I just think we're gonna see a good Dak. I think we're gonna see just something great. We can't have both picking against the Cowboys on this podcast, so I gotta go with them. And I feel bad. They can get a win here. It's a different Cowboys team every week, man. So I think that the right one shows up. Mostly more just on feeling. Obviously, I think the Cards more or less point to Baltimore, just based on the matchups. But Dallas gets a win.
All right, I'm just going Baltimore here because I it's really hard for me to believe that they go 0-3. The thing is this. I don't know who can match up against this offense. I really don't. You know what I mean? You've seen what happens when teams are successful in running the ball against the Dallas Cowboys. They run on the exact opposite side of Micah Parsons. Well, when you have Derrick Henry, you can run at anybody. Mm-hmm. So I think that they're going to just continue to pound the rock, and then once they have to pass the ball, they will. Now, could Dallas's defense get a couple turnovers here because it is Lamar back there? Maybe.
I think so.
But at the same time, Lamar's got those legs, and I don't think Dallas has anyone aside from Overshawn at the linebacker position. I don't think Kendricks is going to be able to just be that Mike and just spy Lamar, because that's one thing you have to remember when you're playing the Ravens and you're playing like Kyler, or you're playing Anthony Richardson at the Colts. You have to have a spy on him the entire game, which takes away a position from covering somebody else. So just like Tanner said, he's got the Cowboys. I'm going to go Ravens this week. The Cowboys disappointed me last week, so I got to pick against them even though it hurts. Sunday night, we got the Chiefs and the Falcons. I do think that the Falcons are not going to take this one. I think the Chiefs are going to take this one. The biggest thing, though, about the Chiefs right now is their defense has disappointed. Outside of after week one, last week it wasn't necessarily the best game. They did go down and they held Cincinnati to under 30 points, which is not bad, but I expected a little bit more in Kansas City's defense. And, recently, as you've seen them in the Super Bowls, they have this defense that just shows up out of nowhere. But I think the Saints take down the Falcons this week on Sunday night. The Chiefs take down the Falcons this week on Sunday night. Mahomes gets himself at least a couple touchdowns. And Mahomes, I'm going to need 30 points in fantasy. You know what I mean? Right now we're getting destroyed on fantasy, folks. I'm 2-0 with every team. I understand that. But my quarterbacks, I got Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, guys, you know what I mean? The real Slim Shady. And I'm just, at this point, I don't know what's going to happen, right? I got Derek Carr on my bench. I'm like, do I start him? I don't know.
It's a tough one. It's a tough one. I'm also going Chiefs. I learned a long time ago not to pick against Patrick Mahomes, especially in prime time. It's just the big thing I'm thinking about, man, is just Chris Jones, Bijan Robinson. Defensive tackle for the Chiefs with Chris Jones and obviously Bijan. Like that's
Tyler Algier for president. Come on now.
Okay. Well, he just look the
why,
Arthur.
Why do the Falcons give him the ball so
look
much?
The Arthur Smith era is over. Why is Algier getting the ball next to the red zone? Like I get it. I get it. He's good. He's played well. Like he has.
He has.
But like I think it's funny. They just like run him all. There's like a drive. It's the Algier drive. He plays well. And then they get down to the red zone and they just stick Bijan in there and he just doesn't get a touchdown. And it's like, I don't think Bijan has a touchdown on this season yet, if I'm not mistaken. That might be right or not, but I would go and check that. But I'm pretty sure I read that this week. So, but
I'm checking.
I think Bijan does get in the end zone here, but man, it's hard. I've seen Chris Jones just absolutely destroy offenses and destroy running backs because of this, so it's gonna be tough for I think the Falcons to get going with Bijan, and that's the only reason they were in that game against Philly was Bijan, and obviously Kirko's great drive towards the end, but they didn't have a lot of success, throughout the vast majority of that game with Eagles' stout defensive line, man. So I got the Chiefs, and I got the Chiefs winning by probably multiple scores, just because I just can't see the Falcons get going. I've seen a bad Falcons team in Week 1 against Pittsburgh, and then a kind of mediocre to good, very towards the end of that game, Falcons team against Philadelphia. But I think Falcons defense will get Patrick Mahomes. They'll get a couple sacks. It's going to be close, but I think Pat Mahomes, he starts to get it going towards the end, and he finishes out the game. It's going to be an entertaining one, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Two things. That drive with the Falcons where they literally just, the Eagles got the lead. They were up by 2, and then the Falcons that was vintage Kirk.
Oh, yeah. Eagles should have run the ball.
Vintage. Oh, that is back when Washington had a good name.
Yeah, dude.
You know what I mean? That was that.
Like that? You like that? Come on. It's Kirko, baby. Come on. That's what he does.
You know what I mean?
Drake London with an absolutely nasty route on Darius Slay, too. That guy is going to be good for a long time.
Oh, and I love Darius. He's like, that was a good route. It's like, that was a nasty route. Like, you're watching that. Just,
well, yeah, because I think Slay's kind of biting on that inside route because that's what it kind of usually is in those situations. So you just kind of, it's so nice. It was so nice.
It was so nice. Look at these Couch Warriors just out here running routes.
I know.
Monday night, Jags versus the Bears. Does Caleb Williams get a tug? A little passing touchdown. You think he gets one? Think he gets one against the Jags?
We thinking about the same game? I think we're thinking about the Jags versus the Bills, the other B team.
Bills?
Yeah, they play the Bills. That's Monday night. Yeah, because Chicago plays. I don't know who they play.
Do the Commanders play Bengals after that? Right?
Yeah, I don't remember which one is first though. I think they're like an hour apart, but we do get two on Monday night.
All right. Well, we'll hit the one that I got wrong the first time. The Bills versus the Jags. Oh, that changes everything.
Chicago plays Indy.
Okay. Chicago plays Indy?
Yeah, I think that's a noon game.
All right. I don't know if Caleb's going to. I'll give Caleb his first tug. Okay. Anyway, my bad on that one. Monday night.
He should have had two already. Anyways.
True. Jags versus Bills. Who do you got?
Give me Buffalo. I think Buffalo's on a just collision course for the AFC Championship game right now. They look so good. I don't know how they lost all these pieces and they look even better than they did, but let James cook. I think that's just going to be the motto this season, man. I think this is going to be his breakout season. He's running the ball better than he ever has, and it's only been 2 weeks. And look, he got like 3 touchdowns last week, and he was like, no offense to like the rest of the Bills roster, but like who else do they have on that offensive side? Like Kincaid, he's played okay, but he hasn't really been a part of that offense. With Diggs being gone, I think that this team has become a running team. Just that's their identity now, is just pound the rock and let Josh do what he does off of play action, and just confuse the heck out of the defense. So they got a good running back, man. James Cook is here. He's the real deal, and I just don't trust that Jacksonville front. Josh Hines Allen, I guess, his new name. He's pretty much the only guy that I'm pretty much worried about in this game. But other than that, not really. They got like Trayvon Walker, number 1 pick a couple years back. I haven't really heard a lot about him. He hasn't really played up to expectations, I don't think. Alucon, I think he's a great linebacker. He gets a lot of tackles, but once Cook's at the second level, he can make you miss. He's a shifty guy. He's one of those guys that kind of goes underneath the tackles rather than through them, or maybe around them. And they're going to get him open in a lot of different ways. And that's, I remember Jacksonville last year. They just didn't have a really good rush defense, and I don't think they added a whole lot that makes me think that they're going to be better against it. I think Jacksonville has just been a team that. It's very disappointing through the first 2 games. They're 0-2, if I'm correct, and Buffalo's 2-0. So give me Buffalo, man. I think they win this by a couple touchdowns.
I think the wasn't it the Jags who played the Pats last week and they won?
No, the Jags played. Who did they play last week? They didn't play the Pats because the Pats played Seahawks, and they went to overtime. That was that game.
Are Jags really 0-2? I could have sworn.
Yeah, Jags played the Browns, and the Browns defense just demolished them.
Oh, that's right.
And Christian Kirk has been basically invisible. So,
yeah, I drafted him pretty high in fantasy too.
I'm gonna been playing all right, but
yeah. I'm gonna go Bills too. You said it. They're leaning on the run, and I don't think the Jags are going to be able to stop that run. James Cook looks lights out. I knew he was going to this year. I tried to get him in fantasy, but I couldn't. And then, Josh Allen has more rushing touchdowns than a lot of running backs in this league. So they're just going to keep doing that and keep running the ball with Josh. You just hope for the health and that it doesn't, wear on him as the season goes on. Maybe, as the season goes on, they can actually start passing the ball a little bit more. But right now, this offense is working, and I wouldn't change a thing. The last game are the Commanders versus the Bengals. We've got Jaden Daniels, the rookie, against, Joe Burrow. two LSU guys. It's going to be pretty cool to see that reunion, especially with Jamar Chase there. But I'm definitely going to go Bengals on this one. I do not think the Commanders have what it takes to take them down. The Bengals have not looked necessarily good this year, but I don't think they start off 0-3, just like I said with Baltimore. So I got the Bengals winning against the Commanders. Who do you got?
It's, who they think gonna beat them Bengals. That's, give me the Bengals. I don't think that Joe Burrow starts 0-3. Kind of like how you're saying with Lamar and your other point, but it's just they kind of do this. I don't know why Joe Burrow kind of does this at the beginning of the season. Mostly, I don't know, that they just have inconsistencies throughout the offseason that leads to this, I think, but it's just not a good start that you usually see from the Bengals, and they start to kick it up and getting into gear throughout. So I think that the Bengals do win this one, and it's just there's not going to be a lot of resistance from Washington because who do they really have at this point? So I think Jaden Daniels. I think we maybe see his first passing touchdown because I don't think he's played bad at all. I think that they've kind of tried to make him more into that pass guy, run second kind of quarterback, but it still peeks through every once in a while and. Since he's good, since his defense is like sometimes scary good in primetime games. So, I think we'll see some turnovers. I think since he's going to get all over him, man. Trey Hendrickson, he's a guy you don't really talk about. He's a beast. Yeah, he's a beast. And I don't know why people don't talk about him more, man. So I think he's going to get in there. And I can't think of anyone that can really give him a lot of trouble on that Commanders offensive line. So, give me the Bengals. I think you're going to see, the Bayou Bengals, start to up north, with all those LSU fans rallying around that team now. I think they're going to get it right, and they're going to start going on that run that I was talking about, maybe even get a shot at that division. So I think it starts here on Monday night against Washington.
You heard it here first. That's all we got for the NFL this week. Jumping into a little bit of college football chit chat to end out the episode. I'm literally wearing an A&M hat. Tanner's got Johnny behind him. We both graduated from A&M, but good Lord, Texas. I mean, what are we doing, guys? I mean, this team is not only good, they are scary good.
No, they're amazing.
And it's Quinn Ewers goes down. Every other team in the country, it's a oh shit. Mm-hmm. It's a panic button. Everybody's running around in the room. Papers are flying up everywhere. Arch says, hold my beer, even though he doesn't drink, and just slings it. They're up so high in week 1, he gets to go in. Up so high in week 2, gets to go in. Now he gets to start because Quinn gets injured. If you're that good when you come in and get that many touchdowns that he got last week and the week before, we already know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
We already know what's going to happen. Arch is going to go in there and make it really, really hard for Quinn to take that job back. But not really. Not really. Because for some reason, Arch could start anywhere in the country right now except for Texas.
Yeah.
And he's sticking it through. But dude, I mean, this kid is unbelievable. Quinn Ewers is unbelievable.
Both of them.
But Arch, it's a Manning.
Yeah.
And you know how much coaching this kid's gotten his entire life, and you know how good he's gotten since he's been there. I watched that first spring game with Texas and him. He did not play that well. You could tell that he had to get that speed kind of sped up a little bit. And it took him a little bit to get used to it, but God, he got used to it quick.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And now it is very, very obvious that this kid's going to take the reins, just like I said last pod. He's going to take the reins next season, but it's happened earlier, and he's getting the reins a little bit early this year. We don't know if Quinn's going to be out for multiple weeks. They have not said, but what are you seeing in this Texas team aside from just the quarterback play is phenomenal this year?
I mean, you have 2 Heisman candidates in the top 10 in Heisman voting, Heisman odds. I'll say that. And that's impressive. I don't know if that's ever been done before. It might have been.
There's no way.
But especially through the first, 3 weeks of the season.
No way.
Yeah, no. I don't know how they're doing this, but especially with the game against Michigan that they already played, you know what I mean? Probably one of the bigger games of the season. So like,
Michigan.
it's Michigan, the national champs. So and they just made them look silly.
Chiefs.
They made them look absolutely silly, and even Arch got in on the madness too. So I think obviously that's the best opponent that they have played. And, this previous match, you can say whatever you want, but you can see the skill. You can see that skill is popping through. I don't care if you're playing a bad team. If they're putting up however many points a game against these guys that they should beat, like, yeah, it's really impressive. So this is the first Manning with wheels. You know what I mean? He's got some moves, and we haven't seen this before. So
the brother was a wideout. He had some wheels, but we got to talk about the post on ESPN. They said that he got clock run faster than Tyreek Hill.
That's impressive. He was gaining some speed towards the end of it. I will admit.
There's no way he's moving faster than Tyreek Hill. There's no way he's actually running that fast.
We've seen Micah do it. It's not like out of the realm of possibility for these guys to do it.
Seen Myles Garrett do it too.
Yeah, so it's just obviously game speed and real speed is kind of different, but it's he's fast. He's got some wheels.
Insane.
This is dangerous. We've never seen a Manning with wheels, man. Peyton, nope. Eli, nope. So, I remember that Peyton Manning keeper with the RPO at the side, against Dallas Cowboys to win them that football game. That might have been the craziest play call I think of my entire life. And I don't know how many rushing touchdowns Peyton Manning got, but that's the one that stuck out. And you're going to see that a lot in Texas.
I think that's the only one that might not be like a QB sneak into the end zone. I don't think Peyton ran the ball a whole hell of a lot in the end zone. Not to mention that was older Peyton in Denver.
In Denver, yeah. I want to know what Eli's longest and Peyton's longest rushing attempt was, because I want to see if Arch beat it already. You know what I mean? Like, I want to see if Arch already beat them on a touchdown run like that. Like, that was insane, man. He's so good. He's going to be very, very good. And Texas might win 2 back-to-back natties. You know what I mean? Like, they're looking like it right now. So, and they also got rid of like so many players that went to the NFL last season. They just reloaded this year. So,
Peyton Manning had a 33-yard run touchdown on November 4th in 2001 against the Buffalo Bills.
I think Arch's is longer because he ran he had like half the field, didn't he? That was a long touchdown.
Yeah, but that's also college. You know what I mean?
I know, but I don't know. You could compare their college stats too. That's a rabbit hole we could go down into, but. It's hard to say that Texas isn't the best team in the country right now, especially how Georgia looked against Kentucky this past week, which they looked pretty vulnerable, man. But hey, give some credit to Kentucky.
Well, it says that Eli ran for 315 yards in his entire career, and the most carries he had in a game was 6. But I'm not actually seeing his long. It says his longest rushing touchdown is 14 yards. So good. Peyton has doubled Eli at this point. And now that was an 0-1 when Peyton did that. That's so crazy.
And Arch might have already doubled it. I don't know how long that touchdown run was, but like that's
kid's insane. The kid's insane. And you've got 2 first-round quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. And one of them is going to go this year with Quinn, and Arch is going to go next year. There's no way Arch stays for his senior year. And if he does, the Arch saga continues. The dude is already the number 2 NIL, if I'm not mistaken. Or I mean, I don't know if he's number 2, but he's
top 4. If he's top 5, if not, I think number 4, something like. Because I think I think Shadur's number 1. I want to say 2 is Livy Dunn, and then I think 3 is. It might be Arch, but I think he's 4. I don't remember who 3 was. Though.
Okay,
I saw the same post.
That makes sense. That makes sense with Shador and Dunn. That does make sense. I mean, we'll see, man. We don't know what's going to happen. Arch. Oh man, it's a scary time. It's a scary time. I'll just say that. We got 2 years, hopefully, of this, and then it's going to be over. But just wait. There's going to be more 4 and 5 states. If Texas wins a natty,
I think they will.
If they win a natty, that's the new Alabama. I'm calling that right now.
Yeah.
Another team we got to talk about that gave Alabama a ton of troubles and has dethroned Alabama at times, been the only team to do it at times. the University of Georgia. Okay? This last week, they beat Kentucky 13-12. Should we be worried about this Georgia team? Should we be worried about the quarterback play specifically? Should we be worried? Because I was watching that game and I was like, is this about to happen right now? Is this about to happen right now?
Yeah, I think you 100% should be worried. Obviously it's not. It's the SEC. We'll say that. It's a very, very competitive conference. So Kentucky, they've been here for a long time. They've been doing this for a long time. I think that they're a good team. They're a very, very good team. So I don't know if this is just the writing on the wall for Georgia, but absolutely, I think you 100% do need to get better quarterback play. But it's hard when a lot of your guys do go to the NFL. And I get
every year.
Every single year, and you just kind of like, okay, but his big target's not there anymore. McConkey's, he's in LA, Brock Bowers, he's over there in Vegas. Those are kind of like the guys for this team, and like no one really has kind of become that guy, so I just want to see more from Carson Beck. I want to see him kind of sling the rock a little bit more. I think that's what's going to give this Georgia team a fighting chance. And then let's get ETN going. We know what these Georgia running backs can do. They have a very, very good history in the NFL. Just pound that rock. Just get back to the basics, man. I'm trying to see some pounding the rock. I'm trying to see a little bit of slinging action from Carson Beck. So I think they're good. I think that they will put up against a fight against Alabama, but that's going to be a match, this next match against Bama. So Bama's got a very, very good chance of taking them out, though. I think Jalen Milroe is, I don't know, I think he's getting a little bit angry of all this Georgia, Texas nonsense. You know what I mean? Bama, they're still a good team, man. They're still a very, very good program. I know Saban's not there anymore, but they got the recruits, they have the talent, and they have the capability of beating Georgia.
I mean, it's Georgia, Alabama, and Texas, just like you talked about, and those are all teams in the SEC. So
it's gonna be fun come bowl season. I think Texas will probably win the SEC, but you never know. You know what I mean? With these,
you got some games.
Absolutely,
you got some games on that schedule that are but you looked at the first part of their schedule and you're like, I got Michigan so early. Like if they can get past Michigan, and then you look and it's like, oh, that wasn't even a challenge.
They steamrolled them, yeah.
It wasn't even a challenge. Arch got put in that game, so it's just like, okay,
I know.
Let's go a little bit of the reason the couple of the folks listen to us, the old fighting Aggies, okay, the old fighting Texas Aggies here.
Look good.
Officially ranked again, okay.
25.
25.
That's where we love to sit.
It's what we love. It's what we love to see. And it's we know why. Mr. Marcel Reed, the quarterback, the freshman, the 4-star, he's got to be the starter for the foreseeable future.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think
Weigman. I think that train has potentially left the station.
Definitely plateau. Definitely a plateau.
Yeah. Stalled out a little bit. The driver kind of fell out on the side. We're trying to find him. Nobody knows how to really get the train back going because you got some weird shit up there. Yeah.
I think he put on a show. You know what I mean? I don't know if Weigman goes out there and does the exact same thing, but we've just been seeing Weigman just not make the right reads. You know what I mean? Just kind of throwing the ball over guys' heads, just looking like a very, very raw prospect, exactly kind of what we saw last year before he got injured. So there's not a whole lot of improvement. And then Reed comes in there and he just kind of amazes. He wows, because he's that kind of dual threat guy, and he can kind of do it all. You know what I mean? And that works. That works. And A&M hasn't had a guy like that since Johnny. Maybe since I guess Kyler, but Kyler didn't stay there for very long. So I think since Johnny is probably the correct time since they've had a dual threat guy like this. So I really like it. I think it opens up the offense a whole lot more, especially with a team that is struggling to throw the ball. I think the run game is perfectly fine. The defense is more than fine, and it's going to keep them in games, but it's, can you whittle down that clock? Can you get these continuous drives going that take a lot of time? And that's pretty much a dual threat quarterback, especially in college, and especially in games like this. So 100%. I think I agree with you. I think it's definitely going to be a controversy because Weigman is kind of supposed to be the guy, right? He's expected to be the guy, and when he does, when he is able to come back, I think it'll be interesting if they do put him back in with Weigman. You're going to start hearing some chants for Reed over there in Kyle Field. So we'll see what happens when we start getting into, more than Florida. But it's hard to say, to see what he can do against a team that's, ranked like we saw with Weigman with Notre Dame, but in a defense like that. But I don't know, it's fun. He's flashy. And how can you not like a flashy player like that? I'm 100% on the bandwagon going forward.
I'm on there as well. We'll see what happens moving forward. The last thing we got in the pod. Does Louisiana, the state of Louisiana, have just the absolute best football team names? You know what I mean? I mean, starting off, you have the University of Louisiana Lafayette, the Ragin' Cajuns.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's top notch.
The Ragin'.
Then you have the University of Louisiana Monroe, the Warhawks.
That's pretty awesome.
Louisiana, top tier, man. Not even to mention the LSU School Tigers, like
the Bayou Bengals.
Come on, man. LSU all time team names. All right, that's all I got this week. Let's wrap this up. We'll see you later, folks.
Later, folks.